historian. I'm continuing my interviews on May 21st, 1998 in Louisville, Kentucky at the annual gathering of the American Defenders of Baton and Corregidor. And I am now going to interview another past national commander of this organization, Mr. Melvin Routt. Will you please state your full name?
Melvin Leland Routt.
Of what country are you a citizen?
The United States.
For which country did you serve in World War II?
United States.
Did you volunteer in the armed services or were you drafted to serve?
I volunteered.
What was your rank?
When I came out, machinist mate second class.
In which branch of the armed services did you serve?
U.S. Navy.
Navy. Your serial number or your...
375-9887.
Your age now?
76.
Your age when you were captured?
I believe 19.
Who captured you?
The Japanese.
Japanese Army?
The Japanese naval landing parties, Kagoons they call them, they're Marines.
I see. And where were you captured?
Corregidor.
Where were you taken initially?
Initially to an area where the amphibious airplanes come in called 92nd Garage Area.
And were you moved from that spot to another spot?
We worked from there on different details, burying the dead on there, and about 10 days later they moved us from there over to Bilibid prison after a long march through the town.
You marched from that spot to Bilibid, which is near Manila?
Yeah, it's going into Manila, through the main parts of Manila to the prison. It's quite a long walk.
About how long?
I'd say approximately, probably 6 or 7 miles. I would say.
6 or 7 miles?
I would think it was.
Were you moved from that location at Bilibid to another location?
Yes, but from Bilibid we moved to Cabanatuan 1, Camp 3.
I see. And how long were you there?
We weren't there too long. I'd say probably about a month and a half, if that long, and then we were moved to the main Camp 1. There was actually 3 camps. Camp 2 didn't have water, so the only place we did there was maybe hesitating to march.
I see. And then where were you moved to?
Well, I went on different details from there, and Los Pinos Airfield, which is more part of the Nichols Airfield. I worked there for a while. Of course, that was under their Navy program, extending the 2 airfields to connect them. And then from there, I was sent back to Cabanatuan 1. I stayed there until I made the Japan trip.
And the Japan trip was in a ship?
Yeah, 63-day ride.
63 days. What type of accommodations were on that ship?
Well, the accommodations was to sit down with your knees up against you, with the person ahead of you sitting against them. To sleep, we just kind of divided up. Part of them stood, part of them laid down. The water was lowered down in the morning. There was, I believe, either 2 or 3 cans, 5-gallon buckets. And then when the water was finally distributed out, they become relief buckets for latrines, but they couldn't get but 10 people at a time going up and down the ladders. And the next time we saw it was our rations. And,
In the same bucket?
Same bucket. They were supposedly steamed out. I don't know what you had to eat, you know?
Yeah. What were the rations on that 63-day voyage?
Well, but if you took a U.S. canteen of that we use, it'd be about a little less than a quarter if it was cooked rice. And there was a couple of times where we got about a tablespoon of raw rice for some reason. It wasn't cooked. By the time we came over, there was an awful lot of what they called enemy activity out there, and there was quite a few ships sunk. And this is the reason for the long trip. We'd have to break away from a convoy and stay in shallow water where the submarines couldn't get at you.
When you eventually got to Japan, where were you taken?
We went into Fuji and at Fukuoka, and there we were put in a big warehouse for the night. And I think that was the first good meal that I think probably the only good meal I had the whole time with Japan. And in the next afternoon, they put us on trains. They split up. Some of the group went one way, and I went to Camp 17. I think there was 3 different groups they had sent away to different places.